Thank you, Addison. Welcome in. We are going to talk about what we just saw. A&M drops game 1 to Mississippi State, 18-11. Mississippi State 16 hits, A&M 13 hits. I'm going to go over something really quick just before we get into initial thoughts. Just some series openers for A&M. So game 1 against Oklahoma, conference opener, you give up 8 runs. Game 1 against Georgia, you gave up 9 runs. Game 1 against Mississippi State, you gave up 9 runs. Game 1 against Missouri, you gave up 9 runs. Game 1 against Vanderbilt, you give up 14 runs. Game 1 against Texas, you give up 8 runs. You did well against LSU. Game 1 against Florida, you give up 9 runs. Game 1 against Auburn, you gave up 18 runs. Did well against Ole Miss pitching wise. And then game 1 against Mississippi State, you give up 18 runs. What's the pattern, Tag?
Length out of the starter has just not been there in game ones. Even we would agree Shane's best outing to some degree was beginning of Texas, and he only went 3 innings in that game. So regardless of what we believe his best outing is, you just haven't gotten length out of your starter, and that's just not every team almost that you've played has gotten length out of their starter, aside from Missouri and Georgia, because Volchko struggled. But even Valinkas today didn't have his best stuff, gave up 7 runs, I believe, and he still made it through 5 or 6 innings. And it didn't matter. Every team that you've played has got length out of their series opener starter, and A&M just hasn't done that in every series, which is why they are 3-7 in conference play and series openers.
Let's start with some of our keys that we talked about yesterday before the series started. Mine was how well you were going to do against Valinkas. His strikeout numbers are sick. They're really good. He's 7th in the country in strikeouts. You did really well against Tomas Valinkis. This was his worst outing of the year. The official line, he went 5 innings, gave up 9 hits, 6 earned runs, walked 1 guy, and struck out 7. Tag, if I told you before the game started, you're waiting outside Olson, and I'm an angel, and I come down and I say, hey, Tag, you are going to put up 6 earned runs, 7 runs total against Tomas Valinkis. He's only going to strike out 7 batters, and you are going to score 11 runs total in the game. What is your reaction to that? Oh, also, Mississippi State is not going to score in 5 of the innings. What's your reaction?
You run ruled them.
Yeah, you beat him pretty bad.
Yeah,
Somebody,
not necessarily run rule probably because, but obviously they score in some innings. But you are not anywhere near the scenario you were in today. Getting what you did against one of the what we would agree is the second best starter in this conference behind Volantis, or like arguably second, depending on who you talk to, and you score 7 runs against him, and you are down 10 when he's pulled.
yeah, somebody made this joke next to us at the game. If you take the third inning out of the game, A&M wins somewhat convincingly. The big story of the game is Mississippi State puts up 13 runs in the third inning. That's ridiculous, by the way. That should never happen in conference play. That's stupid. Ethan Darden started for A&M, went 2 innings scoreless, and then the wheels came off. Mississippi State loads the bases with no outs in the third inning. They would go on to score 10 runs with no outs. 17 Mississippi State batters saw the plate. 13 of them touched home. And then, of course, 10 of those runs came with no outs. So you take the third inning out of the game. Your pitching staff did good enough. As I said, Mississippi State was scoreless in 5 innings of the game. They scored 1 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth, 1 in the ninth. So you take those out. Mississippi State score. You take the third inning out. Mississippi State scores 5 runs in the game. You win 11-5. You can't take the third inning out of the game. That's not how that works. But you can't. What's so frustrating about this pitching staff is you can't say that they were terrible the entire game. It was 1 inning. The wheels came off in 1 inning, and you did a pretty good job with their lineup. Aside from that. Couple other things. So Mississippi State, 16 hits. They hit 4 home runs. They had 29 total bases, left 8 runners on base. So they left, a little meat on the bone at times. But yeah, you are. I tweeted this literally after the third inning. You are never going to win a conference game if the other team puts up a 13 spot in 1 inning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think when we talked about our keys was like, will Mississippi State take advantage of the free passes that A&M gives you? They had 1 walk in that 13 spot inning. They straight up beat you. Like it wasn't. But at the end of the day, we talked about this. The only ball that was hit hard during the 13 spot was Jacob Parker's ball that probably landed on the football facility.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. I think the story of the day, regardless of the 13 spot, was when Ace Reese gets jammed and hits almost a no doubt home run opposite field. Like that, you just felt like everything that went wrong in that 1 inning, even though, yes, they did beat you, like you didn't give it to them. Like it just, the inconsistency is really a problem. But like I personally thought Darden could have pitched himself out of it because you were getting to a part of the lineup that was switch hitter left-handed, even though you could face top of the order again. And I don't know if that was the plan for this staff. Like, who knows what their plan was? Maybe it was one time through the order. Maybe it was see how it goes batter by batter in that third inning based on his last start. But I didn't like, he wasn't pitching bad when they pulled him. And then I think it was a bunch of bad luck for Gavin Lyons when he came out. Yeah, like we were talking about it also. If you're in double play depth against Ace Reese, you get a double play instead of it being 2-2 with no outs and runners on the corners. But once again, college baseball is turning, it's changing. Professional baseball is changing, even though they changed the how you can position yourself defensively. But like I completely trust, like people get mad about the shift against Georgia when they basically burned you the whole Friday night game against the shift, and they burned you again today. But for like every Mississippi State game I watched, when Ace Reese gets out, it's a ground ball to the right side. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
it's
like human bias like plays such a huge factor in how people react to the shift when somebody beats the shift. Like if a guy if 70% of the time that a batter hits a ground ball, he hits it but in between second and third base, guess what? You're going to shift that way. That's what you're going to do. And the 30% where he hits it through the other hole and it makes it look like your shift is stupid, like those he just beat the numbers. It just happens sometimes. Um, so that's all that was. I guess. Oh, this is. Did you see this comment I put on? This is pretty. This is getting
yeah.
a theme. You get a decent amount, like really, good amount of strikeouts, and then you get blasted anyways. Um, this is the frustration for me. Is I said before the series for the pitching staff was Mississippi State is really good. They're gonna get theirs. They're gonna hit some balls over the wall. They're gonna do that. All I said was just don't give them free passes, which for the most part you didn't do. But what is really discouraging for the pitching staff is that you threw a lot of strikes and they absolutely annihilated the ball when it was over the plate.
Mhm.
And that's like the theme for me with the pitching staff is aside from two or three guys, the pitchers like the stuff is not good enough to go more than twice through a lineup. And that's what it looked like with Darden a little bit was like he goes through the lineup once, even a little bit less than once actually, because he goes 2 innings and he put three up, three down twice. But you get into the third inning and some of those guys see Darden again and they're all over it. Like they're all over him. And so that's kind of the problem is there's a ceiling with the pitching staff. The ceiling with the pitching staff is like your pitcher's stuff is not very good. Like that's how I see it. I mean, do you
Yeah,
disagree?
if we want to continue to playing the what if game, like what if Bear makes a good throw to Royo on the bunt? Like I guarantee you, he just bought himself another batter. But like all this is retrospect. Like I feel like this team is like tonight you allowed 18 runs in the Ole Miss series. You allowed 17 total the whole series. The
Yep.
staff was trending in the right direction after game one of Auburn, where they once again gave up 18. But after, like, it just the inconsistency, like that we all talk about, that everyone's frustrating with. Um, it's inexcusable at sometimes. Like you should never allow 18 runs twice at home in a conference series. It's happened twice now in back-to-back home series for you. It should never happen. But once again, like we're without two, like injuries are a big part of it. Yeah, I'm not going to be the person that blames injuries for why we lost today. It's not why you lost today. You got shelled when you threw strikes, but you're without two of your three projected weekend starters this weekend. Yes,
Yep.
McCoy was one of your planned weekend starters. He's been out the whole year, so you don't technically count that. But you're also without Sims. So also, and Shane struggled this year. So you're maneuvering everything, and you have two TBA starters and your starter goes 2 innings. It's not setting yourself up to be a great weekend. Um, but once again, we've talked about this at nauseum how this team responds. They played that Auburn game two. They played so well, even though they were down 5-0. They played so well, didn't get the big hit at the end, and then they played really well in game three against Auburn. And then after they lose game one, they put up, I believe, 18 runs against Ole Miss in game two.
Yep.
And
Something like that.
this team responds well after they don't play well. It's just the constant in all of that has been Aiden Sims has been towing the rubber next, and
And
you
he's
don't
not.
get that.
Here's a couple just of the pitching lines from that third inning. Gavin Lyons went a third, gave up 4 hits, 5 earned runs, walked one, struck out zero. Grant Cunningham went a third, gave up 5 hits, 5 earned runs, didn't walk anybody, didn't strike anybody out. And then Hunter Bond got us through it finally, which was a guy that we highlighted. He was probably maybe the best. He was a highlight. Let's say that. Hunter
Mhm.
Bond was a highlight tonight. Went 2 innings, gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, walked one batter, struck out two. I said it before on in the tweet, but like, guys, how many times this year have you been there in a series opener at Olson and you want to leave early? Because the pitching staff does not give you a chance to win. It happened game one against Vanderbilt. You could argue game one against Georgia, you didn't hit the ball. You only scored 2 runs in that game. But game one against Vanderbilt, you scored 8 runs and you weren't even close to good enough because you gave up 14. Game one against Auburn, you get run ruled at home. You lose by 13 runs. People were leaving by the third inning because Auburn was already up by 10 at that point or whatever. And then tonight, you're down 13-12 at the or 13-2 at the end of the third inning. Uh, Home field advantage gone. It's gone. That's what happens when you go down like that. It's so ridiculous. I mean, it's literally looking at watching this game. This is like the most unbelievable college baseball game I've ever watched in my life. Your offense, yes, yes, Caleb, exactly. Yes. So you score.
No, I
You
think you need to touch on Caleb's first comment before we touch on this one. Um,
That's
like
fine. Yeah, let's move this one.
like
There you go.
Darden was very good, even though like he faced the first three hitters in the third, and they all reached. None of them hit it over 90 miles an hour, not
Yeah,
one. And then Gavin's first batter hits a little rollover through the right side. That's just not good luck. You're just not. It's not good luck. Obviously, in retrospect, we're saying this. And then Jacob Parker was the only ball hit probably over 100 miles an hour the whole game. The
yeah,
whole game. So it's not like this pitching staff wasn't effective. They just found the right holes. But yeah, obviously it's frustrating. And then like the outliers that we talk about, Auburn outlier 18 runs, majority of it in 2 innings. And then who else? And then tonight 13 runs. You take these big innings. It's been the big inning every time that haunts A&M. And also 4 out of your 5 SEC series that you get at home, people are wanting to leave after the fourth inning. That cannot happen, especially when you're claiming yourself to be the best home field environment, and your arch rival does not show up to the games, and then they turn your game on when they're winning, and no one's there.
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Olson is awesome. Olson, it becomes an impossible place to play when A&M is playing really well. There is zero home field advantage when you are down 13-2 after 3 innings. Zero. It doesn't help. I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, Dalen, this is also you're 6-6 at home in SEC play. Like, and it's not the crowd, it's that the pitching staff is not giving you a chance to win. You scored 11 runs and lost by 7. You scored 11 runs and were not in the game. It's funny, but it's not funny. You scored 11 runs and you were not in the game. All right, let's move on to tomorrow. You got to flush today and move on. You have to. It's the only way forward. Shane, it's going to be Shane or Weston Moss starting tomorrow, probably.
Mhm.
What does A&M need to do differently tomorrow, Tag?
I mean, it's simple. Shane's got to be effective, like he was at Ole Miss. We say this every time. The starter's got to be good. It just is what it is. But I will go in a different way. Um, your offense put up 7 against Valincus, and Duke Stone. Yeah, he has good strikeout numbers, but he gets hit around a lot. So your offense, this national championship contending offense, is going to have to show up like they did today, and you feel very good about your chances. Yeah, we thought this game was going to be low scoring today. We thought this game was going to be low scoring today, knowing that Valincus was as good as he is, and knowing that the potential of, yeah, Darden started his first game. It was a little rough, but a little like got hit around a little bit. But you would thought that he could trend in the right direction, and some of these pitchers would. You would have thought that Shane could have came in today and been effective. But when they have bases loaded, no outs, you're not going to waste. I'm not saying they did this. They're not trying to throw the game. Obviously, when you're up 2-0, but you're not using your projected starter when you're out another one in a game where they could break it open, and which they absolutely did, and that's why you didn't see them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the offense was extremely encouraging, and it gives you a lot to be excited about over the next 2 days. Tomas Valinkis is a top 3 starter in the conference, top 5 starter in the nation. Uh, Literally no debate about that. He's that good. This was his worst outing of the year. He gave up 7 runs. You were on him. You were on him from the start. 2 solo shots in the first inning. Duke Stone, as Tag mentioned, good strikeout numbers, but he's been hit around quite a lot in a lot of these games. And this is not me being a homer. This is not me just being an Aggie and like, wanting us to win. Mississippi State is very bad in game threes. and their starter tomorrow and on Sunday has been hit around quite a lot this year. Uh, it doesn't feel good right now. But if A&M wins the game tomorrow and we're talking about them playing a rubber match, that wouldn't be super surprising to me. They respond really well after they lose. Uh, Auburn game one was much worse than this. You lost 18-5 in that game. Today you lost 18-11. And A&M came back and very easily could have won that series. Now, you don't have Aiden Sims, and I know that, um, which is a big part of it. But the offense has played they played really, really well tonight, and that's really encouraging. So show up tomorrow. We're still fighting. Yeah, I mean, you have to show up and support this offense tomorrow because they more than showed up tonight. 11 runs in a conference game should not just sometimes or most of the time win you the game. You should always win the game if you score 11 runs.
Yeah, we talked about this before we went live that A&M has lost multiple games this year in conference play where they've scored double digit runs. They lost at Oklahoma in the tornado, and they lost tonight. And it's very like everyone wants to bash Jason Kelly and this pitching staff. Everyone does, but a lot of these guys are talented, just not talented enough. But your starters have good stuff, and they're capable of like we've seen the up and down of Shane at parts this year. Like Ole Miss was very good. Who knows how he's going to throw? Presumably tomorrow. We all think he's going to throw tomorrow, but he could be very well tomorrow. And then you have Auburn, Weston Moss, which is very good. Puts you in an absolute great spot to win. Obviously, 6 no-hit innings, very good. And then you have Ole Miss, Weston Moss, and it's just we talk about inconsistency all we've talked about it all now on this podcast, talked about it all week, every week leading up that we've done this, which day are we going to get of said starter, and which day are we going to get of this starter. And we could very well be in for a great start tomorrow. Yes, Mississippi State is very bad in game twos, I believe, or they're
They're
just not as
they're
good in
not
game
bad
two.
in game twos. They
It's
struggle
not as
in
good as
game
game one.
threes.
They're
No,
just not
they're
as good as game one, though,
no,
correct?
yeah, they get
So,
for
and
whatever
we could.
reason. Sorry,
No, you're
go.
good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, for whatever reason, Mississippi State they have a very streaky lineup. Their lineup looked unstoppable in the third inning. For whatever reason, Mississippi State this year, game one, typically Tomas pitches like unbelievable, lights out, holds the opponent to under 4 runs. Mississippi State scores close to 10 or more. And then for whatever reason, games two, the offense doesn't look the same. Game three, the offense doesn't look the same. And both of their starters get hit around quite a lot. I'm not being a homer. I actually would not be super surprised if A&M wins tomorrow or wins the series. That would not be the most surprising thing I've ever seen. It feels like crap right now, but I'm just telling you what I see and what I see from Mississippi State and what I see from A&M playing really well after a loss. Another thing, going back to that Ole Miss game three, what was the theme in that game? Ole Miss put up 5 runs in 1 inning, and those were, I'm pretty sure, the only runs. That was the only inning that they scored in like 2 innings, I think, but that inning they scored 5 runs, and they only scored in one other inning. So for the pitching staff, it has always been one big inning is the problem. One inning spirals, one inning goes wrong, and the game feels like it's over. It's kind of inexplicable. I can't explain it to you. I don't know exactly why that happens, but that's just what's happened, and it's ridiculous. And I said this after the game and during the game. I still think I'm not going to say it's a miracle. It is really impressive that A&M has 16 conference wins with the inconsistency of this pitching staff. To be three, and if I told you before the season that A&M was going to go 3-7 in conference openers, that would be a pretty big red flag. You would go, oh no, this looks like 2025 all over again. And that's not the case. So it's really impressive that A&M has still played this well, given how badly that they've started. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, like we just talked about, what the broadcast today pointed out that A&M is 13-4 in games 2 and 3 this year, and we're at 16 wins. You're 16-11 in conference play, and 7 of those losses are in the series opener. And at least they've tried to change something up. It's not like they're doing the same exact thing every single start or every single opening series. but it's a problem. And if when inevitably they do host the regional, yeah, it's different because you're playing a four opening it. But when the recent projections, when you get Tarleton in the first game in that offense, they're a very good offense for a mid-major or whatever we want to call it, and it could cause problems. Not saying you will lose,
Mhm.
but it's gonna be curious to see on how this team approaches a the postseason and um, if they get it at Olson.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of all we have to add. Kind of feels like the same story, different week. You lose game one because your pitching staff didn't give you a chance to win. But yeah, we'll be there tomorrow. Show up tomorrow. Another night game. That's huge. And hopefully, and then this is one more thing that I forgot to say. It was a super unreal feeling after that first inning. You get off to a good start, and Darden puts up a zero. It's like that's your dream start. That's your dream start. That was another one of our keys. Is the reason why A&M has lost so many of these series openers is because you're in a hole early, where the other team puts up some runs in the first inning and the second inning, and your offense takes a bit to get going. That was not the case today. You hit 2 home runs in the first inning, and Mississippi State went down in order twice in the first and second inning. But this time it didn't matter. It's like when there's a big barrel and it's leaking from one hole and you put tape on it and then something else breaks and sprays out. That's what it was tonight. Is this time you started well, but then they put up freaking 13 runs in the third inning.
Yeah, on series
Yeah.
openers, it feels like the whole story of LSU this year. When their hitting's good, the pitching is not great, and that was the case tonight. And it's felt like it. And I don't think it's ability necessary. Like all these guys are SEC, or a majority of the guys are SEC caliber arms. At some point, it's like it's got to be mental. At some point, like I pitched, obviously not at Division One SEC baseball level, but after every time you go out there on a Thursday or Friday and you're just getting shelled and shelled, it's kind of like almost the expectation at that point. Oh, we're going to get shelled today.
Mhm.
Oh, this is going to
We're
happen
going to give
today.
up a lot of runs today.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets, and it honestly affects the hitters too. Like they're like, oh, we've got to score a lot more than we usually do
Yep.
because, but I mean, this team is still going to be very good. Like you still got to win, still got to win one. You would assume, like everyone's projecting, you got to win one to host a regional. But once this team gets in the postseason, who knows how they're going to play? Like this team could get hot starting tomorrow and then go follow up in Hoover because you're not Sims is obviously it's out that he's not throwing tomorrow. He's not throwing this weekend. But you could get a Sims start on Thursday in the SEC tournament if you win both of these games, and you're in the SEC semifinals. Like this team could get hot at the right moment, and ultimately, the teams that are very successful in postseason baseball are teams that start winning this weekend and the weekend prior.
Right. Yeah, that's all we have. We will be back here tomorrow. Do not make any big conclusions about anything after one game, because you know how baseball goes. A&M wins tomorrow. We're feeling a lot different. We're having a lot different of a conversation. So, yeah, show up tomorrow. It's another night game, which is huge. And yeah, we will see you guys tomorrow night after game two.